There he's being walked
so it looks
out to
like
the
they
facility.
may have landed that helicopter on the soccer field. Now, there is that helipad on the West Side Highway side that they used, the 32nd Street.
There's
that they
some
used
also
originally.
downtown.
So it looks like now they decided to use use the soccer field as a landing pad for those helicopters. This is a huge security operation as well because, as you know, he's a part of those narco-terrorists, TDA, and as well. And so they're on high security alert because they have their own resources, their own drones as well.
So they have, you got to read the 25-page indictment. They have an airtight case on this guy. I'm not saying there's not going to be moments that things are going to be tossed out and they might be lengthy, and it's going to be costly. But they got him dead to rights through 3 administrations. And you know, that's why the bounty was on his head. And most people, prior to President Trump grabbing him, everyone was agreement he had to go.
This is unbelievable. This is in Brooklyn, New York, where he is in jail, and they're putting him on this chopper. They're going to take him into Lower Manhattan. The federal district court is in Chinatown, and they'll transport him there. They're doing this because there's a lot of traffic in New York, A, and B, I think for security reasons. They want to make sure he gets to the courthouse and that he's safe. This is going to be a typical briefing today. He and his wife will appear there together. They'll both enter their pleas. They're expected to be non-guilty. Then bail will be addressed, and the next court date will be set. There will not be cameras in the courtroom, and this is the first step of years-long prosecution because they're going to take probably another year to seat a jury to weigh in on all the evidence they have against him. But Donald Trump said the judge is a respectable judge, and he said we'll most certainly order them to be held without bond. They say that he will ask prosecutors and the defense attorneys how much time they will need to prepare for a trial.
Cuando aparece sentado con todos los agentes es una clara imagen de sometimiento.
Porque estamos viendo, Sandro, no perdamos de vista esta imagen, estamos viendo efectivamente a Nicolás Maduro por detrás de su mujer, de Silvia Flores, que se van a subir, si esa imagen se consigue ampliar, a bordo de ese helicóptero. No sé si ese sería el recorrido también habitual. Sandro, estamos viendo esas zapatillas naranjas, como se tienen que agachar precisamente por esas hélices de ese helicóptero. Silvia Flores, Nicolás Maduro, ya rumbo a esa primera vista ante el magistrado Alvin Hellerstein. ¿Es el recorrido habitual, Sandro?
Bien, en el juicio del Chapo, para que tengáis una idea ante el dispositivo que se moviliza para este tipo de juicios de alto nivel, se gastaron 50 millones de dólares. El operativo de seguridad es inmenso. Aquí de lo que se trata para preservar la seguridad del reo es evitar el puente de Brooklyn. Por eso cogen el helicóptero para mandarlo desde el penal a Manhattan. En Manhattan, ya cuando aterriza el helicóptero en el puerto, lo que hacen es llevarlo en un blindado hasta el tribunal. Eso lleva un tiempo, será puesto a disposición del juez y luego el mismo proceso a la inversa. Coche, blindado, helicóptero, coche y al penal. Y así va a suceder en cada una de las vistas siempre y cuando el juicio se celebre
up, Morpheus on the move.
Sino que es durante ese traslado de Brooklyn hasta otro punto de Nueva York, Manhattan, donde estamos y donde se va a producir esa comparecencia en corte. Imágenes al amanecer, imágenes que son en vivo ahora mismo, que está saliendo el sol aquí en la ciudad de Nueva York. Claudia.
Sí, que seguiremos con puntual atención hoy, Damián, al pendiente sí, de ese primer desarrollo y de esa posibilidad a la que enfrenta Nicolás Maduro de una vida en prisión tras estos cargos que, si bien por algunos no se consideran cargos tan serios, tan relevantes, pues sí pueden terminar en estas condiciones para el exgobernante venezolano.
En el avión presidencial, entre otras cosas, habló, si me permiten, mientras vemos estas imágenes, también anticiparles eso, habló de Cuba, del futuro de Cuba.
I'm turning around there. I got you there, Robert.
Convoy that appears to be transferring Nicolas Maduro to court. The former Venezuelan leader was held in the Federal Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, but will be facing court in the Manhattan courthouse. So you could see that convoy, quite a notable security detail. Of course, the court session is due to start around 5 p.m. our time. No cameras in court, as we're told. We still have to see whether we will catch a glimpse of Nicolas Maduro. We'll see that here. But while all eyes are on what's happening in New York, of course, Sean, because of the charges that Nicolas Maduro will be facing, a lot of attention on Venezuela itself, the situation there, I mean, still quite tenuous and still in a phase of transition, and no one quite knows who's in charge right now. Oh, I think, forgive me, I think we can see him now. I think it's... So he seems to be, if it is him, and Nicolas Maduro is quite a tall man, so looked like him from the distance being transferred into another car. And that while he is on his way to the Manhattan courthouse, where he is expected in court in about 4.5 hours, a bit more than that, to face several charges, 25-page federal indictment, where he's accused of narco-terrorism conspiracy and also possession of machine guns and destructive devices to be used against the United States. Our military analyst, Sean Bell, is with me now. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what comes out of court, obviously, when that happens, Sean, and we are monitoring it in great detail here on Sky News. But as this happens, we were just saying that the situation in Venezuela itself is still in a state of flux. The former vice president is nominally now in charge, but we've already seen tensions between her and the Trump administration, or rather Trump himself.
We believe that armored vehicle has President Maduro, former President Maduro, inside as they leave the courthouse in Manhattan and now head back to a Brooklyn jail where he and his wife, Celia Flores, will be held. I want to bring in senior national policy reporter Ann Flaherty. And as this hearing was happening, the UN Security Council is also holding this emergency meeting. We also heard U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz a little bit earlier addressing the council, defending this operation. So how are other countries there responding?
Yeah, well, Diane, he made the case that, the former President Maduro, as you referred to him, was not a legitimate president, and that's why the U.S. had that legal authority. Now, we do know other countries are expressing some shock and alarm, saying that, if the United States could do this to one country, what prevents the United States from doing it to other countries and potentially lawfully elected leaders. So we did hear Mike Waltz, Trump's ambassador to the UN, lay out the case saying, look, we're not going to occupy Venezuela. That's not why we're there. This was a law enforcement operation. Now, critics would say, well, it was led by the Army Delta Force. The CIA was involved. This was very much a military operation where we seized a leader of a foreign country. And amazing, we've been pointing out all morning that, just days ago he was in a presidential palace, and now he's, of course, in this courtroom pleading not guilty, saying that he is not guilty. He was kidnapped. And so, we'll see what happens next. But the United States sending a bit of mixed messages. President Trump saying we are in charge of Venezuela now, but hearing from Mike Waltz at the UN just now saying we're not occupying that country. This was simply a law enforcement operation.
And so we believe that convoy taking former Venezuelan president from the Federal Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, where he's been held, where there appears to be transferring Nicolas Maduro to court. The former Venezuelan leader was held in the Federal Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. A lot of attention on Venezuela itself, the situation there, I mean, still quite tenuous and still in a phase of transition, and no one quite knows who's in charge right now. I think we can see him now.
He was led in handcuffs, apparently shackled at the ankles, with his wife, actually, both put into the same vehicle, the back of the same vehicle in a courtyard inside that facility in downtown Brooklyn. They will have wanted to move him early in the morning to beat the traffic, frankly, in which Maduro sits along with his wife in the back seat, agents with their phones out filming Maduro, and that's duly dispensed for public consumption. It's a feature in all of this, the Trump administration making a show of what they have done and what they clearly regard as a result. And on the night he arrived, there had been exiled Venezuelans, or indeed members of the Venezuelan community, certainly, who turned up in his support. He might well have heard them from his prison window.
Of course, we can see images now of the helicopter flying from the detention center in Brooklyn across the river to the courthouse in Manhattan. The legality of the actions by the United States, his capture in Venezuela itself, and having taken him to New York. And in New York itself, of course, that's where the United Nations is, in Manhattan, other end of it, but still on Manhattan. And there's a Security Council meeting due to take place later today.
A very bitterly cold New York morning for onward transport by road, a short journey now towards the courtroom. Drugs Enforcement Agency officers doing the job, performing the function this morning. They are at the heart of this. The Trump administration very keen to emphasize that. He has ceded control of all aspects, virtually, of his life. It looks like it has achieved its aim, and that has been the delivery into the court building of the two co-accused.